Castle Acre is a rare and complete example of a Norman planned settlement, and its huge defensive earthworks are amongst the finest surviving in England.
The castle is a physical reminder of the Normans, of their power, and the enormous and profound impact the Norman conquest had on England. William de Warenne was one of the few proven companions of William the Conqueror who fought alongside him at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. He was rewarded with holdings stretching over 13 counties. He married Gundred, daughter of the Anglo-Saxon Toki, and in doing so, he inherited the land at Acre.
Castle Acre is the perfect example of a Norman motte and bailey, with its later additions built in stone. Now, the Normans literally built hundreds of these castles all across England and into Wales, and all of them constructed of the same tried and tested design. Let's take a look at what a motte and bailey is all about. Firstly, let's take a look at the lower part of the castle, this defensive enclosure known as the bailey. Now, originally on top of this earth rampart, you would have seen a massive wooden wall known as a palisade. Also, you'd have seen a big wooden gatehouse with towers. Inside this defensive bailey, you would have seen a whole range of buildings, including bakeries, kitchens, workshops and blacksmiths' forges, stables, a chapel, quarters for soldiers, and the Lord's Hall. Everything you would need to keep the Lord's cavalry garrison operational.
Around 1080, William and Gundred travelled to Rome, and along the way they visited Cluny Abbey in France. They were so impressed with what they saw there that they decided to establish a Cluniac Priory here on their lands in England, and William gave the castle's chapel to the Cluniac monks. Eventually, Castle Acre Priory was established for them, which is just down the road from here, but it was the first Cluniac Priory to be established here in England.
Now let's take a look at the motte, built high above the bailey in this defensive position. Originally, on top of this motte would have stood a large wooden tower. Now, some of these mottes had absolutely huge towers containing the Lord's private apartments for his immediate family. Others were more simple in design and just acted as watchtowers or a last line of defence if the castle was attacked.
The third Earl of Surrey, also called William de Warenne, built the stone keep here during the Anarchy. He was a supporter of King Stephen, and he built a defensible keep and a fortified settlement. But in 1146, the Earl took crusading vows, and he was killed in the Battle of Cadmus the following year. His daughter married Hamlin Plantagenet, who took the de Warenne surname, and the earldom continued.
A lot of engineering and building experience has gone into creating this motte. Now, the Normans were building motte and bailey castles in France for generations before the Norman invasion of England, and this is how they did it. Now, this motte, or any motte on a castle for that matter, it's not just a pile of soil. There's a lot more to it than that. So you'd start off with a band of stone, and then you have a band of soil and a band of clay, and then another band of stone, and then another band of soil and clay. You slowly build that up and build that up. If you had just a big mound of soil, as soon as you got a few years worth of heavy rain, the whole thing would have just washed away. And because they built it in such a way, that's why it's still here for us to see today, nearly 1,000 years later.
And then once you've built your motte and you've got your keep built on top of it as well, you then would need the addition of a flying bridge, a wooden bridge that would enable you to get all your horses from the top of the motte down to the bailey below.
If you think it was the Normans themselves that put in all the hard labour into building these castles, then you better think again. You see, the Normans already had a large workforce ready to be put to work in whichever Saxon village or town they saw fit to build a castle. If the Saxon population refused to work, then there would be serious and deadly consequences, and their town or village would be burnt to the ground.
In 1278, Edward I set about determining by what right the lords were claiming their land and their authority. If they couldn't prove their entitlement, the lands and rights would revert to Edward. The 6th Earl of Surrey, John de Warenne, was served with a writ of quo warranto, and he was called before Edward's Parliament and asked by what warrant he claimed his rights. The story goes that the Earl pulled out a rusty sword, claiming this was his warrant, saying, "My ancestors came to England with William the Bastard, and they conquered their lands with the sword, and I will defend them with the sword against anyone seeking to seize them." John de Warenne featured prominently in Edward I's wars in Scotland, and in 1296 Edward appointed John Warden of the Kingdom and Land of Scotland, but John soon returned to England, claiming that the Scottish climate was bad for his health. So when William Wallace was attacking the border, John refused to go north and fight, and had to be ordered by Edward to lead his armies north. John was defeated by Wallace at the Battle of Stirling Bridge, and John fled back to England. The male de Warenne line ended in 1347, and the castle passed by marriage to the Earls of Arundel. The Earls had interests in other properties, so they were absentee owners, and by 1397 the castle was a ruin.
What I find totally amazing is that after the Battle of Hastings, a Norman army numbering around 20,000 took total control of England and a Saxon population of over 2 million.
And the Normans did that with their new invention, the castle.